Welcome to this deep dive into building ecologically sustainable organizations. I'll explore what it really means for a firm to operate sustainably, not simply as a matter of reducing environmental impact, but as an ongoing organizational journey. We'll consider the business environments and concepts that shape that journey, along with a broader shift toward embedding sustainability into how organizations think, operate, and create value. The goal is to understand sustainability as a practical and evolving way of doing business. Sustainability matters now because it has moved from the margins of business strategy to the center of decision-making. Climate change and resource depletion are changing the conditions in which organizations operate, while stakeholders expect greater responsibility and transparency. At the same time, regulatory requirements are increasing. Investors are examining sustainability performance more closely, and consumers are demanding responsible practices. Sustainability is now a core strategic imperative. It directly affects long-term competitiveness, resilience, and, ultimately, an organization's ability to survive and succeed. An ecologically sustainable organization goes beyond simply reducing waste or complying with environmental regulations. It practices environmental stewardship, operating without permanently damaging the natural systems that support life. It also takes a long-term view, meeting today's needs without limiting future generations' ability to meet theirs. Together, these ideas are captured by the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. The goal is to balance social well-being, environmental health, and financial performance, rather than treating short-term financial returns as the only measure of success. The triple bottom line offers a more balanced way to define business success. Coined by John Elkington, the framework asks us to consider three dimensions at the same time: people, planet, and profit. People means fair labor practices, equity, and strong communities. Planet focuses on conserving resources, reducing emissions, and protecting biodiversity. Profit represents the financial health needed to keep investing in both social and environmental progress. True sustainability happens where all three priorities overlap, rather than when one is pursued at the expense of the others. Sustainability is not a switch that firms turn on overnight. It's a progression, beginning with rejection, when environmental risks are ignored, and moving through non-responsiveness, where concerns are acknowledged but not acted on. Compliance represents meeting regulations and basic standards. The deeper shift comes with efficiency, when sustainability becomes part of everyday operations and decision-making. The key idea is that each stage builds on the one before it. Moving forward requires intentional commitment across the organization, from the boardroom to the shop floor. This slide describes the first two stages of environmental maturity, both defined by a lack of meaningful action. In stage one, rejection, leadership actively resists environmental concerns, often viewing them as threats to profitability. Lobbying against regulation and short-term financial thinking are typical, making this the most damaging posture for both the environment and long-term brand value. In stage two, non-responsiveness, the firm is not openly opposed, but simply indifferent or unaware. Without formal policies or stakeholder pressure, environmental impact remains an afterthought, and change is effectively postponed. Stage three is a compliance stage, where sustainability is treated primarily as an obligation. Firms respond to regulation, litigation risk, or public scrutiny, but usually only after external pressure appears. The objective is to meet the legal minimum, avoid penalties, and protect the company's reputation. This creates a reactive mindset. Actions are driven by rules rather than values or long-term ambition. Sustainability also remains largely separate from business strategy, often sitting within legal or compliance teams instead of being integrated across the organization. It's risk control, not leadership or opportunity creation. Stage four marks a shift from compliance to value creation. The firm realizes that going green can reduce costs through energy and water conservation, lean manufacturing, waste reduction, and more efficient supply chains. ESG reporting also begins to formalize accountability. In stage five, sustainability becomes part of corporate strategy. The organization designs sustainable products transforms its supply chain, and makes public commitments with measurable targets. Rather than reacting to environmental pressures, leaders proactively pursue innovation, stakeholder engagement, and eco-advantage as sources of competitive differentiation. Stage 6 represents the highest level of ecological maturity. Sustainability becomes the organization's identity and purpose, not a separate department or initiative. The business model is redesigned to create net positive value for natural systems. That means closed-loop operations, where waste is eliminated by turning outputs into inputs, along with regenerative practices that actively restore ecosystems and communities. Just as important, this commitment shapes the culture. Every employee becomes a steward of sustainability, making ecological responsibility part of everyday decisions and the way the organization creates value. This slide shows how sustainability can appear at different stages of corporate strategy. Patagonia represents a sustaining corporation, making environmental responsibilities central to its mission and donating 1% of sales to environmental causes. IKEA illustrates strategic proactivity, with more than $4 billion invested in renewables, a goal of becoming climate positive by 2030, and circular product lines. Toyota reflects the efficiency stage, applying lean manufacturing and hybrid vehicle innovation to reduce emissions per vehicle produced. Together, these examples show a progression from improving efficiency to embedding sustainability throughout the business model. The key takeaway is that sustainability is a spectrum, with firms moving from rejection toward full ecological integration. Strategy turns that progress into innovation and competitive advantage. Ultimately, the goal is net positive, regenerating ecosystems and giving back more than the organization takes, rather than simply reducing harm.